Alright, I'm gonna make another tier list for July 2021, but it's kind of pointless now because there's a patch coming out. But this is just gonna be a tier list for what the meta was like, the OP Grohk meta. So let's put the S tier champions up here. I'm not putting them in order, but right now these are like the best champions in ranked on PC. And I think Andro is up there sometimes. Really depends. Okay, so these four, in Masters and Grandmasters, on PC at least anyway, not console, these four get banned like every single game because they're just so fucking good. Like Atlas has good sustain, he has a shield that cannot be destroyed. He can rewind people to lower his cooldown on his shield so he can get a shield again, and when he's about to die, he just rewinds. It's really hard to fight Atlas. Let's put it that way. Like, there's hardly any flanks that can 1v1 Atlas or Khan, especially Bullet Storm Khan. Like, these two tanks are very hard to 1 versus 1. Like, the flanks want to do their job, but they just get destroyed by Bullet Storm Khan and the Rewind Atlas. When he shoots his thing, it turns into a grenade and rewinds, and it lowers cooldown on his shield so he can throw his shield up again. So most flanks cannot fight Atlas or Khan 1v1. They have to have some kind of help. Even some damage champions cannot 1 versus 1 Atlas or Khan because they'll just full heal. Atlas will throw a shield up or rewind. Khan has Bullet Storm and Cauterize, and he has a grab, and he has a shield, and he has a full heal, so it's very hard to fight them one-on-one. Even more so than Terminus, because Terminus has no range. Someone like Androxus and Vora can get away from Terminus whenever they want to. And then Grohk and Grover are like the best healers in the game. So what happens is, if Grohk gets banned, someone is going to pick Grover. So that's why they get banned every game on PC and ranked. And then later on you have the other tanks like Barrack and Terminus. I don't even know where they put Terminus. There's so many champions now. Who else is A ranked? I'd probably say Androxus. I don't think he's S ranked. Mostly because there are ways to counter Andro. Leon. Cass is definitely A tier. They're using Impulse. Pretty much the two builds with Leon. The one where she has cooldown on her shot that like goes through enemies, and her other shot where she slides and hits all enemies. Both those abilities are used pretty much all the time in ranked. Ashe is kind of like in between A tier and B tier. But I really hate having all these tiers because it's kind of like whatever. Because like Buck is in the middle. Corvus is kind of middle. Ashe is there. Dredge is like whatever. He's easily countered. Io is definitely trash right now. Bomb King is in the middle. It just like, there's frame drops and there's things where sometimes his bombs just like don't connect at all. Genesis is getting buffed, so he'll probably go up to A or S. Koa is also getting buffed, and he's going to do more damage. Torvald's getting buffed. Torvald's weird because like, he has to stay with a damage champion like the entire game. Sky is kind of like mid tier, so is Maeve. Dumba is definitely A tier on PC. He's just, Moji right now is kind of whatever. Like, nobody plays Moji in ranked. Like, you can win with Moji in ranked, but it's just like, she's so bad. Like, there's no reason to pick her over Andro or Vora. Like, you never, like, there's no reason to pick Moji over Androxus and Vora, because Andro and Vora are like the best flanks right now. Xin has kind of like gone down because his ultimate kind of sucks now, and he's slow. Like, he has Moji speed, and both their ultimates suck. The only thing is Xin can stay alive longer because of Billow and his deflect, and it's a little harder to chase Xin down. The problem with Xin is he can't go anywhere. Like Andrew and Vora, they can instantly go to the high ground where Xin has to like walk. Lex is definitely mid tier. The interesting thing about Pip is he's not bad, but there's other healers that can just do his job better, like Dumba, Grohk, and Grover, like the 3 best healers, and after that is probably like Cirrus and Furia. But Grohk and Grover get banned all the time anyway, so it doesn't matter. Strix is ass right now. Like, there's no reason to use Strix in ranked. He's just so bad. Like, you're better off using Xiaolin. Just learn Xiaolin. The thing about Lin is, Xiaolin, is like, sometimes the servers have frame drops, and so your arrows or your shots are not always going to connect. Tiberius is definitely, like, at the top right now of A. He doesn't get banned that often, because these other 4 get banned all the time. But people are still using Trigon's Fury to slow him down and just finish him off. Like, he has range. He can get away whenever he wants. His leap, he has insane damage. His ability just to like throw blades constantly will shred people, even though it has like 11 or 12 second cooldown. Nara's kind of like the top of B. Kness up there also, but she has to constantly be careful of Andro and Vora jumping on her and just like instantly killing her. Almani is definitely like B. Talus is in the middle. It's just really easy to counter Talus right now because Tiberius, he'll throw his sword at you and slow you down and just shred you to pieces. Andro and Vora can just jump away from Talus whenever they want, fly away. Leon, she'll save her ultimate, so if you try to ult Leon, she'll ult you right back. I feel like that's the same thing with Talus, like his ult. If you ult someone, you have to be careful because they'll just ult you right back in the face. Especially Dumba and a lot of the healers. Like, if you try ulting Grohk, like, Grohk has his shadow ability, like, he'll just become invincible and you can't even touch him and he'll full heal himself. Grover can ult. Like, there's so many ways to counter Talus when he ults you. Vivian is trash right now. She just does, like, no damage. Like, there's really no... The reason why she's so bad is because you don't want to pick Vivian over Tiberius, Leon, or Cassie, because they all do so much damage. Like, Leon, she does so much damage. She can shoot from anywhere. She never misses her shots. And if Leon gets a kill, it just lowers her cooldown, so she can do her abilities again, and it's like a never-ending loop with Leon. Cass just does insane damage with Impulse and her Blast Shot. Like, she'll shoot you, Blast Shot, then shoot you again, and you're dead. And she pretty much can 2 or 3 shot kill almost any damage or flank in the game. Like, she can literally 2 or 3... That's why Cass's ultimate is kind of garbage. I'd say Willow is definitely A tier. The reason why is Dead Zone counters so many tanks. Like, it counters Khan, Atlas, Barrack, Term. It counters, like, all the tanks. The only thing is her Seedling doesn't really do anything to Term, but her Dead Zone, like, it completely shuts down healing. And what people don't realize, too, is, see right here, Grohk and Grover are the 2 best healers in the game, but they have, like, AoE healing. But Willow doesn't care at all. Like, her Dead Zone completely shuts down Grohk's totems, and it can shut down Grover's healing because Grover's so fucking slow, but he can Vine Grip everywhere. Fernando's kind of like A, but you have to be very good. There's good Fernandos and there's like bad Fernandos. Rom is A. Ruckus is A. The thing about Ruckus is he's very like... He's like Damba. You have to have a lot of skill to use Ruckus because most Ruckus players, they only play aerial assault. So you have to know where to jump and fly around. Tyra is A. She's up here because in ranked they use her triple grenades, which is getting nerfed, unfortunately. She can stack her damage reductions, so she takes no damage at all. The problem with Tyra, though, is in the long range game, she completely dies. Like if you're up against Kinessa, you're gonna get blasted. It doesn't matter if you have 3 grenades, because Kinessa can teleport, and Kinessa will still fucking kill Tyra, like in 2 shots. Same with Cassie and Leon. Like all they have to do is keep their distance from Tyra, and Tyra will lose. She also has to be careful of Shaolin. Shaolin will also 2-shot Tyra in the long distance game. So Tyra has to stay in like kind of like a middle ground in a close range so she can fire and shoot her grenades. But at long range, she doesn't stand a chance. Also, if Tyra has, like, if she's in the red, she has no HP left, there's nowhere for her to go. Like, her only ability is to walk. So she's not going to get away from Vora or Andro chasing her down. That's the only problem with Tyra. Victor's kind of weird. Like, he's kind of like at the top of B. Like, he just runs around and shoots those grenades. But sometimes I feel like Willow's better because she can just use Dead Zone and completely shut down healing, so the other tanks and the off tanks will just completely destroy people. Ying is kind of like A. Yag is like, sometimes she's C, sometimes she's B. Let me explain. There's some maps that have no high ground. So if there's a map that has no high ground, Yagarath is B. But if there's a map that has high ground, Yagarath has to stop everything she's doing. She has to roll into a ball, and then she has to go all the way up to the high ground and hope they don't have Vora and Andro, because as soon as she gets to the high ground, Andro and Vora are just going to fly away from her, and then she can't do anything about it. That's why I mean sometimes she's like B, and sometimes she's C. It's like, it really depends. A lot of people in Masters and Grandmasters I've talked to on Twitch think Octavia sucks. I guess. Because I guess the reason is she's not as good as Leon, Cass, or Tiberius. That's the reason why. Or Tyra. Because Tyra can throw her fire on the point and keep the tanks off the point. She has 3 grenades that stack damage reduction. And the only thing Octavia can do is shoot and jump. She doesn't have the same amount of damage as Cass or Leon or Tiberius. So it's kind of weird. Vatu is kind of like whatever. There's people who think he's okay. So I guess he's like top of B. I think the problem with Vatu is he's just not as good as Andro and Vora. So, especially with Andro and Vora being the 2 best flanks in the game, you have to think to yourself, am I really going to pick a lesser damage sustain champion than Andro or Vora? Probably not. So right now, the new champion, Ray, is not in ranked. So, whatever. There's no point in... She could be okay, she could be not. So, whatever. So here you have it. These are the champions that are like all in their tier list. As you see, Paladins is still a pretty balanced game. The only thing is, I think later down the road, Grover might get nerfed. Khan and Atlas might get nerfed also. But from what I see is they're giving Atlas a buff on his where he rewinds and drops a bomb on the point. They're removing that, and instead when he rewinds, he's going to rewind everyone in the AoE facility, which is still kind of pointless because most of the time there's only at high skills and masters and grandmasters, usually there's like 1 or 2 people on the point, so I don't think it's going to do much, especially in the 1v1. I mean, he already has an ability that fires a grenade that rewinds people, so why, I don't know, that ability seems kind of pointless to me. But right now, like, Io, Moji, Strix, and Vivian all need a buff, because like Io doesn't really do anything. You can't take the point anymore with her pet. Moji's kind of ass. She's definitely not as good as Vor or Andro. And like, if you're gonna play Moji, you're better off just playing Xin, because they literally do the same exact thing, except Zin's damage is more consistent, and Xin can stay alive a lot longer than Moji. Strix is just kind of ass. Like, they need to give him like something. They need to give him like a better ult or more damage on his pistol. Vivian's kind of shit also. They need to do something with Vivian. I don't know. Maybe just give her a tiny bit more damage. These characters definitely need a buff of some kind. Like Io, her pet can't take the point. Her healing is kind of whatever. Her ultimate is complete trash. It only works on like a couple maps. But yeah. These other characters could use a small buff, like Maeve, Koga, Lex, Dredge. Dredge definitely needs a buff. Talus needs a buff. So does Bomb King. Buck could use a small buff. But the thing about Buck is, what would you buff on Buck? Maybe make him a little faster, walk speed faster, because I think his damage is fine. I think he's just incredibly too slow. His walk speed is incredibly slow. Xin also could use a buff. I think his walk speed is incredibly slow. Like, if you're going to make Xin's ultimate complete trash, you have to give Xin something else. Maybe a walk speed. Eevee could use a small buff. Maybe give her more. I think her damage is fine. I think just give her more HP. Because right now she just dies in 2 hits to Cass. She dies in 2 hits or a couple hits to Leon. Andro and Vora just, they stay alive a lot longer than Eevee. So yeah, that's pretty much the tier list for Masters and Ranked, which doesn't matter because there are new patches coming out soon.